How you doing? I'm sure you know the music. You probably don't recognize your host. This is Malik Ingram, sitting in for my close friend and business associate, Mr. Edward Davis. He was not able to join us today, but nevertheless, you will be blessed with some pertinent information from your number one political outlet and interpretation of political news and events. So what we're gonna do today is get right into it. I don't know where to start or where to begin because he don't know where to stop, and that's Trump. We have a situation where we have an arrogant president, a sole loser, and what we want to talk about today is America after Trump was dumped. But it's hard to talk about America after Trump because he's still a factor. He won't let go. One of the things that I think was very important when me and Edward used to talk about ex-President Trump is that what he represented. And I just want to emphasize again what Trump represents and what he's not. Trump represents an ideal. He's not a president. They elected an ideal. And the ideal they elected is an ideal of white nationalism. You say nationalists, but most of the time when white people engage in it, it's white nationalism. And normally when white people say they're proud of themselves, it's always bad for people of color. We don't have a problem with white pride, but historically it's always meant something bad to us. So Trump represents an ideal. He's not a president. So you can't expect him to be presidential. You can't expect him to have social decorum or certain etiquette. He doesn't possess that because he's an ideal. And normally with white people, they represent an ideal. The people around them, let them do foolish things because the ideal is more important than the person. And we found ourselves on social media a lot of times trying to find out why he's not presidential. This man done lied so many times, I done lost count. He done lied to the point to where we don't even know what he's lying about. His character is flawed. But again, because he's an ideal and not a president, we can't expect him to be presidential. So I think that in approaching Trump, you gotta understand you're approaching an ideal. So even if Trump is out of office, we still have to fight the ideals that Trump represented and the ideals that he brought out in this country. And that's what we're gonna talk about today, post-Trump and what he represents after the election. Particularly the things dealing with the Supreme Court, social unrest, political discourse. They've lost their sense of togetherness in this country because of what he does. In a lot of ways, for him to deny the election results, this has never been done in the history of U.S. politics. And it's really embarrassment. It's really an embarrassment internationally because the U.S. has always prided itself in being so democratic and have other nations watching how our democratic institutions evolve. We always brag about the credibility of U.S. elections, but now that's coming into jeopardy. Another thing that's very disturbing as well, a lot of his Security Council advisors are very concerned about him jeopardizing national security. If you haven't been following the news, he recently fired his defense secretary. And that's never been done with a president leaving office, firing someone in that high position. So you have a lot of people in government and outside of government that are very concerned about what this means in terms of national security. Some people believe that he's not going to leave office, but in terms of leaving office, there's a constitutional mandate that states that after the 20th of the inauguration, which is mostly ceremonial, that he will be considered trespassing and that he will be escorted out. So there's no stand behind after that. I think he knows that, and I think that's very important. So before we get to our guests here, I just want to mention another thing about Biden and what Biden represents. Biden is going to be the COVID president. Most presidents are defined by what's going on at a given point in a given moment in history. You have war-type presidents, you have civil rights presidents, Lyndon B. Johnson, this time during the civil rights movement, most presidents were in office during a certain social unrest or political unrest. You had prohibition presidents and candidates during the time of prohibition. But what Biden gonna represent and what his administration gonna be mostly concerned with is COVID. How he handles COVID, the legalization of the drug, the illegality of the drug that some people are going to contest. The irony is this, when Trump was promoting the drug in office, he was saying take the drug because that gave him political credibility. Now that he's out of office, he's going to be the main proponent against not taking the drug and to get away or to get back at Democrats. So the same way white people was not wearing the hat trying to protest the Democratic Party, you're going to have white people saying I'm not taking the drug because I'm protesting the Democratic Party, which is crazy. But he's going to represent that outside influence. So Biden's going to be, I believe, a one-time president, because whether you know it or not, Trump can run again. He's already considering running in 2024. And he's the most recognizable figure right now in the Republican Party. If you look at the news, none of the politicians are willing to get or go against him. Everybody's trying to support him because they need him to get them votes back home. He has a 90% approval rate from his constituency, 90%. So any Republican in any state governor that speaks out against him publicly, Trump's gonna come back and punish them and, basically not endorse them. So that's why a lot of the Republicans right now are not telling him to concede, because they don't want to be on the wrong side of this guy. So with that being said, just kind of whetting the appetite and whetting the discussion, I want to introduce my guest, longtime friend, business associate, culture brother in arms, brother in struggle, resistance, everything that's good about life. Close friend, Mr. Ed Duncan. How you doing, brother?
What's going on, bro?
Glad you're here, bro. Why don't you tell us something about yourself before we get started?
First of all, my name is Edward Duncan. Consider myself a community activist, dealing with the African community and our people in the struggle. It's really important that we get together at tables like this and we build together. So, but dealing with the Trump issue, I want to make something clear real quick that white supremacy racism, we have to understand, is something that's at the core of this system. What I mean by system, political system, be it judicial, the whole thing that dictates people's everyday lives. And we say is, white nationalism, who Trump was a white nationalist, that may be true, but white supremacy, racism is always at the core of everything that got to do with the system that we're in.
Okay.
So that's just something
to put that out there first. Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. That is something to look at, and that's very timely and powerful. So I want to ask you a question. What's your take on the political climate right now in America? What's your opinion on what's going on? Why is it happening? Why is there so much division, so much confusion? Briefly.
To put it, as brief as I can, I feel and I stand on that the disunification of our people. What I mean by our people, black people, the African descendants in this country. We can't speak about every ethnic group, because if you look at the black people in this country, we're the most divided. So saying out to say, as far as politics is concerned, politics don't do what it do. Politics being here, for us getting involved in it, it has some advantages, has some disadvantages, but at the same time, we as a people, we gotta learn how to build ourselves up first before we can move forward to that political realm. I feel that black people or African descendants in this country have to build a unified front first and foremost before we can move.
So you're saying we need to be politically mature before we can take advantage of politics?
Economically and politically mature, most definitely.
All right, well, we're getting started. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back and finish our discussion. You're in for some treats and some philosophical, intellectual goods. Be right back. All right.
Welcome to Tntn Politics, your political right to know. The show where if I don't say it, it might not get said. And say, they did a good job of taking over, but again, it's not a show without the man in the building.
He's trying to coach.
I'm hearing like stuff in the.
He's trying to coach.
I'm hearing this all this noise. But glad that y'all could join us today. As you can see, we got some really great information that we always want to share, and that's what we do. We try to put the information out there and let you decide for yourself how you want to move. The reality is, at the end of the day, either you make things happen or things happen to you. And so I like to be in control of my destiny, and you have that power. Whether it's through a vote, whether it's through a protest, whether it's through community activity and involvement, some kind of activism, whether it's through economic empowerment, right? There are many lanes. Find your lane, do what you do, and do it well. But let's get back to this buffoonery in your White House. The man who's still denying that he lost.
Yeah, I think that this can't be understated or not stated enough, and I think it's not being looked at in its totality, and that is the influence of social media. Social media has a lot of advantages and disadvantages. One of the disadvantages that it has is that it has created a situation where argument and discourse is considered normal, and by it being considered normal in conflict, that has spilled over into the political arena and led to this type of discourse. I think that has contributed greatly to the division in terms of how people talk to each other about things that they are passionate about.
Right.
Because if you go online, you see a lot of people are passionate online and very disrespectful, because what you see on social media for the most part is mostly disrespectful, contentious type information where people are polarized. Yeah. And I believe that social media adds to that. So Trump represents that social media era. He's an entertainer.
And he's certainly polarized,
yes.
Extremely polarized. The reality, those realities, right?
Right.
In addition to the fact that we know that he's playing to a certain idea, right? A certain concept, a certain ideology, a certain philosophy.
Let's talk about
now, look at here. And with that being said, we just have to be mindful of not only where we stand, but understanding who we get behind, who we back. Also understanding where they stand. Right. And the reality is that at the end of the day, we can disagree on a lot of things and still be friends. Mm-hmm. We can't disagree on racism.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? We can't. And so as polarized as this nation is right now, you got to always keep in mind that 70 million some folks voted for this man.
That's right.
So watch who you call your friends.
That's right.
Right.
I just want to ask guest here, Mr. Ed, what do you think some of the backlash is going to be for that group that voted for him, that are angry? The suburban, the middle class whites, the ones that work in them warehouses, and what kind of backlash do you see coming with them being defeated? What do you see happening?
Well, to be honest with you, man, I mean,
and what should we do to prepare ourselves for that backlash?
Can 2020 get any worse?
Well, yeah. I mean, me personally, this is just my opinion. A lot of things that I may say is my opinion. It's gonna get worse before it get better, and the only way it's gonna get better is that we have to make it better. What I mean, I go back to our people. I go back to the black people, African people in this country. We're in a situation where we're so disunited. We're waiting on that savior, our own savior self. And I mean, we can't look for somebody else to save us that can't even save themselves. So, but back to the question is that ain't nothing gonna change. It's still gonna be the same racism, discrimination. They're gonna use all their tools and tactics, to keep us where they feel that we should be in their mind. They feel that we should always be at the bottom. So therefore, when it comes to what's going on in the backlash, it's still gonna do what it do. That's where we have to be empowered, whether it's politically, economically, which that's where we need to be. Like Malcolm said, black people in this country is very politically and economically ignorant, and we have to change that.
Yeah, I agree, man. I make a real good point. So the reality is, at the end of the day, we do know that economically, again, it's almost like we traded in our economics for integration.
Exactly.
We integrated ourselves out of business, out of jobs. When we were forced to deal with each other and had to buy black, then those businesses thrived.
Right.
And now money circulates in other communities for weeks at a time. In a matter of hours, our money is circulated out of our community and is building somebody else's up.
Exactly.
And it's a sad day when in the black community, and again, this is politics, right? We don't even make a pair of shoestrings. I mean, what do we actually own?
The shoes that we wear, we don't own it.
Yeah,
the clothes we wear, we don't make it. The cars we drive, we don't, other than we're working in somebody else's factory to build them, but our name
Yeah,
is not
so you're
on
talking about
it.
$1 trillion in spending power.
Most
See, that's the
definitely.
basics,
The
right?
cones
Right.
we use.
So,
we don't have-
so at the end of the day,
Right.
so at the end of the day, we talking about economic empowerment, because they go hand in hand.
Right.
We have to understand that we have power. Like Biden, one of the few presidents who's ever acknowledged that there will be no Biden presidency without the black vote. Right?
Yeah, he also made a statement on one of the talk shows that if you don't vote for him, you're not black.
I don't know about that part. I'm just saying this part.
No, but yeah, I'm just saying.
After
yeah.
we know the power we hold, after
Yeah.
we've given that power to somebody and they acknowledge that it's because of our power that they have their position, how do we hold them accountable? Because at the end of the day, that's what's gonna matter most, right? We're
Yeah.
talking about how to counter white supremacy, how to counter all of this outrage about who's in power.
Right.
You know, they have the power to put the right policies and things in place that can, again, kind of be used as a buffer. You know what I'm saying? To
Right.
you know, so how do we hold those accountable with the power that we gave them?
Well, it's gonna take more than voting,
Yeah,
for
most
sure.
definitely.
See, that's the voting it's a moment. Voting is a moment. Economics is a movement. So when you vote, that's just a moment in time, and you waiting for another 4 years to try to hold somebody accountable with another vote. When you move economically, then you moving constantly, and that's what's gonna be respected. Kind of what you like. I think what I'm taking from what you're saying is that we're vulnerable. I think we're both saying, or we're all saying that we're vulnerable socially. We're vulnerable financially. We don't own no basics, things that are needed to survive. If you look what happened during the coronavirus, black people were looking crazy. Everybody was nervous. Everybody was talking about the end of the world. It wasn't the end of the world. It was the end of security. You had a false sense of security. You believed that everything was all right. They started closing. See, there's a reason why they didn't close the Walmarts. They didn't close the gas stations. It would have been mass panic.
Yeah.
Because people can't eat and can't get no gas, that's going to add to the confusion. But my point is that highlighted the vulnerability that we are financially, and our dependence on other people to keep us alive.
Exactly.
Basically, look at a situation where we were dependent on people to keep us alive. Now, what was keeping us alive? We was waiting on them to pass a law, or the city. We waiting on Bear Turner. He got more views coming online than he got Katrina. Oh, not Katrina, Harvey.
Yeah.
People was trying to tune in because of what he was going to say. His next legal move would have determined how we could live.
Right.
In terms of what he was shutting down.
What he was going to shut down.
In terms of
Yeah.
stimulus.
So exactly. So
that
politics was playing out in that. Now he was trying to be politically astute. When they gonna send the next check?
Mm-hmm.
Now we want to talk politics. Now we concerned about now it's politics when it's dealing with your survival.
But it's
You
all,
understand?
but
But
politics
it's
always
been like
always
that.
it was
But
just survival.
that's just
Yeah.
showing how.
But even when you don't feel it.
Right, that's just showing the mindset we in.
Right.
That's the immaturity that Malcolm talked about. That's
Right.
the immaturity we discussing. That we
Yeah.
giving that vote for that moment, but politically we immature. Because at any moment they can do something legally to show us how vulnerable we really are.
Yeah. Shut down something, or stop something, or stop making something.
Right, what we gonna do?
And on that note,
Right.
like you said, bro, the political power that we have, the economic power we have, correct me if I'm wrong, we're over $1 trillion
Mm-hmm.
spending. We spend more money than damn near any people in this country on frivolous things, but we'll get in that in another topic. But our economic power, we have the money, but we're not spending it and investing it and doing what we're supposed to be doing. On a political level, we steady waiting on it, come save me, Joe, and they ain't gonna do it.
That's
And
right.
I'm not speaking about Joe Biden, but Europeans in particular.
His word be used so much, save me, Joe.
and this is not no, racist statement, but black folks are still waiting on a white savior, and we still waiting, and we're gonna keep on waiting. We're gonna be waiting a long ass time until we save ourselves and save each other, because we're the only people that have the power and the ability to save the world.
I mean, at the end of the day, it really boils down to, and again, I don't want to harp on this, but you're making some good points. But again, it boils down to the reality at the end of the day is this: we are afraid to love ourselves because we've been taught
To hate
for
ourselves.
so long to hate ourselves, and that there's something wrong with black unity, right? But if you step outside and be objective for just a second, you see that every community takes care of themselves. And makes no apologies.
Right.
No apologies.
Yeah, you go to Chinatown, it's all about Chinatown, and they taking care of their own. You go to the Jewish community, yeah, they reinvesting in their community. They building their schools up, they building their mosques up, in temples and colleges, universities, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
They're buying from you know, they're patronizing their own establishments, right?
definitely.
We are the only ones who think that there's something wrong with supporting each other and building each other up and loving ourselves and establishing them Black Wall Streets all across America.
And
We're the only people who are
Yeah.
afraid to love ourselves.
I was
right?
just talking to another brother.
And always apologizing.
Yeah, let me
Wait a minute, let me explain this first.
What
I
I'm not-
got let me preface this with I ain't a racist now.
I'll tell you something.
But
and we don't
Right.
even understand that we can't be that. What I mean, that is racist. You know what I'm saying? But we can look at it across the globe, or mainly in this country, how racism, white supremacy controls everything that we do. You know what I'm saying? Like you say, our community, we don't even control it. We don't dictate nothing that goes. People can come in from across the world and set up shop, and ain't nothing gonna be done.
Right.
And they're gonna benefit from that, but the people in that community is not gonna benefit, maybe a little bit, but for the most part, we don't control it.
that's why it's important to play both sides.
That's
right?
politics.
So, yeah, I mean, again, the reality is at the end of the day, racism was necessary to justify the economic takeover
Mhm.
of the Western world.
Right.
Again, think about what we were used for, right?
Oh, yeah.
The backbone to build up this economy.
It was
Think about
laborers.
colonialism.
Straight up
It was
labor.
used to rob and rape Africa of its resources and minerals and material, right?
Most
So every move was an economic move, right? Justified through this other shallow surface stuff.
Right.
And at the end of the day, politics was put in place to maintain for the people who had for the power holders
Yeah.
to maintain their power.
Make a law.
So they'll never pass a law that's gonna deprive them or strip them of that power,
Exactly.
right? So we have to be mindful again of how to play the politics and gain some of that power to control. At the end of the day, what the economics ends up looking like on the back end,
That gives us
right?
leverage. Yeah.
Yeah, that gives us leverage.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So yeah, I mean, what we talking about is a great, powerful discussion. I think that when we look at everything historically, then what we see now would not be confusing or anything new. I want to say historically in terms of segregation. Again, segregation was political in nature, but it had economic consequences.
Mm.
Now, after slavery, we know that blacks were given some type of freedom, but they used politics to put them back in a subservient
Servitude.
economic position by passing certain laws after Reconstruction. But this is the point. You had the races up north, which were progressive races, and you had the races down south that were more conservative races. They were both races.
Yeah.
And I think the northern races believe that the racism up there was different. What I mean by different, the housing situation different. The places up there have limited land, so it's more housing discrimination.
Right.
Jobs are more limited. You have more immigrants coming in from up north, so you have situations in New York where these communities are divided socially.
Right.
You got the Italians, you got the Puerto Ricans, and they vie and fight for housing. They fight for jobs.
Yeah.
So my point is this: when you look at what's going on, what happened in the South and the North, they came to agreement. They had a gentleman's agreement. They said, "Hey,
They definitely
you know, the progressive races telling the Southern races, look, y'all are taking this too far. Yeah, they black, you don't like them, but that money good.
Yeah.
Right.
These people can
Always
work.
the same.
These people can work. We can keep them out of certain jobs and certain industries, but we can get that dollar. So one thing about a race is they'll take your money, but not take you serious."
Yeah.
So I think that's what's playing out now with Trump. You have a lot of people that are pro-racist, pro-Trump, but smile, work with you, laugh with you, do everything with you in a
Even
business
eat with you.
sense, but socially they will not really interact with you and politically interact with you because economically you're more important than you are socially and politically. So I think that if we get more social conscious, like you're saying, knowing who we are, that'll allow us to be more respected in our politics and our economics.
Right.
I agree.
Most definitely.
Man,
we have a
great conversation.
Let me add to that real quick. On that note, still, and I want to make it clear that that's the importance. That's why it's important for our people to get together, and we need to have more talks. We need to get together and let each other know where we differ at. You know what I'm saying? Because like you said, we can agree to disagree, but at the same time we respect each other. It's all about respect and bring our ideas to the table so we can make better moves. Because voting, I think the next 4 years we should focus on us. You know what I mean? Us black folks.
Right.
In
It
our
should've been a wake-up call.
situations.
Yeah, it should have been a
You know,
wake-up call.
yeah, it should be. You know, regardless of what Joe may do and Kamala may do, we need to focus on this next 4 years is to build us up as as a people, and I think once we do that, I truly believe, you know what I'm saying, that things are.
Right. And the sad part about it is, at the end of the day, I don't even know for a fact that Trump is even a racist. He's an opportunist.
Yeah.
Who would do whatever it takes to win.
He like to entertain.
And if that means, again, playing to the base that's supporting him, but the entertainment part is really big. Because he does that to perfection almost.
Like
even now, right? He's playing this reality show stuff, right? It's like the way he kind of went into hiding. You know what I'm saying? You the active president, dude, but you trying to build up this like a reality show. Almost like wait to the next episode and see what happens. I'm saying this real dramatic, climatic kind of. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so it's like everything he does is reality show, right? He trying to build his ratings up. He trying to create anticipation. He want all the attention on him. Right. So by being a sitting active president, you still got a job to do.
Yeah.
Countries. I mean, COVID is ravaging communities. You know what I'm saying security issues on an international level. What's going on with Iran, with North Korea, with Russia, whatever. It's a whole bunch of stuff that needs to be dealt with. Like that stuff don't get put on the back burner and get put on pause.
Right.
And you sitting here hiding, deliberately just trying to, again, create this reality show Hollywood stuff.
That's an excellent point.
When the country needs to be ran.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. I've never heard it broken down like that. And how you describe his Hollywood tendencies, and the next episode, he does try to build anticipation. And you notice when he gives political discourse on his his campaigns, he doesn't talk about nothing. He talk about people, places, and events. He never talk about subject
Nothing
matter. He talk about other people.
Serious matters.
Yeah, he talk about what he don't like. I don't like this person. You see that guy, Joe Hostley? He's not. I saw this lady down the street. She told me. He just be rambling about nothing. He never talk about his plan. But see, again, the America has been softened for that.
Oh yeah.
They've been softened
dumbed
for that.
down and
They've
softened.
been dumbed down and softened to where what he does and says is almost anticipated and hungered for. They have an appetite for that now. That's they have an appetite for that.
That's crazy.
I'm finna say something wrong, but most of people have been tricked and duped to accept trash.
Right.
Anything that don't have no value.
No real calories, no real substance,
exactly,
right?
Exactly. Yeah, precisely. So, like you said, that's what we're dealing with, man. And we as a people, man, we have to look at that, learn from that, and say to ourselves, okay, what are we going to do these next 4, 8, 12, 16, so on and so forth, these years to come to better ourselves, to put ourselves in a position. Because me personally, this system that we in is going to be hell and high water, man, to either persuade these people to do better wherever we put in, so-called power or whatever.
Position.
But it's going to be, because white supremacy racism is alive and well, and this country is thrive in the bloodline of it. So are we still going to be a part of that?
Yeah. So at the end of the day, just go back to what Malika always says, man. We have to get out of the moment and really become part of the movement, and that's going to help us change the dynamic in a lot of ways, right? Black Lives Matter. There's momentum right there right now, right? They're kind of highlighting that now as possibly one of the largest black movements in the history of the United States, right? And Garvey held that for a long time, right? The brother who brought together the most black folk at one time in a movement, right? The Garvey movement.
Right.
But with all of that momentum, and now we got the world's attention and the world's ear, right? Are we going to stay stuck in the moment or capitalize and prioritize and move, right, in a way that's substantive? The same way with Joe Biden and Kamala, right? When we celebrate and cheering, right? All these AKA people, that's cool, man, that y'all got some pink and green in the White House. But hey, you know what I'm saying? Like, don't get carried away. The reality is, again, you celebrating too hard in the moment. Yeah. But you can't forget that there's a movement that's necessary. You can apply it in everything we're talking about right now, right? Even when you talking about them still looking for a Messiah. The reality is, the reason why they were so easy, why all of the movements in the past were so easily dispersed, right, and done away with was because they knew that if I got rid of the personality, I can kill the movement. Because people bought into the leader and not the idea, right? So so the difference is now it seems to be more of a collective conscience where they can't pinpoint. Let's get rid of him and we can disrupt some stuff. And so as long as we got that collective consciousness, that means that the moment is past. Even after the moment has passed, there should be enough of us still ready to move, right? And keep the movement going. So I just like that idea, right?
The idea.
Not the moment, but the movement.
Right. And
Stop focusing on the moment, the movement, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I just want to say something about the Black Lives Matter that bro say something to add to. Is that you gotta understand why Trump rejected the votes. See, you gotta understand language. The reason why he rejected those votes that came in, because them votes came mostly from people of color and minorities. That's what got Biden
That's
in.
right.
So what he's saying basically is that your vote didn't matter because you don't matter. See, that's the whole thing. That's why the Black Lives Matter movement was a threat to the psyche of white people. When I say the psyche, because for the master to be master, the slave got to play the role of slave. This is a dual relationship. You can't have one without the other. The slave got to accept the role of slave for the master to be a master. So when the slave breaks off and say, hey, I don't no longer want to adhere to your thinking, I'm not concerned about how you feel when I come to work, I'm not concerned about you saying we got an attitude or we angry. You have a generation now, black kids, that are 16 and 15 tattooing their whole face. You have a whole generation of individuals that don't plan on getting a job. That what they doing now showing you they don't want to work. So what I'm trying to say is this, that's a certain anger and that's a certain disposition. And that disposition is what Trump and the white people on that racist side was afraid of. They didn't respect the black vote because they don't respect black people. So by him saying it was fraud, he's really saying that basically you are illegitimate.
Your vote is illegitimate.
You basically are not really a true citizen. There's a lot of implications that go with that. He's basically saying you're not a true citizen. You're not American enough. You're not, your vote don't, you count, but on the cool, we still count more. So when he,
almost like you still 1/5, right?
Exactly.
So let's add y'all all up as 1/5 instead, and I'll win.
And think about this,
have more votes if all y'all was just 1/5 of a vote.
And think about this though. That's crazy, but think about it. I win if I give you 1/5. I take one man, one black man, a black woman, and cut them in thirds, and then so you get half of that, and then that's the electoral. Look, what you looking at? It was boy. The idea.
We don't want to go too deep, man.
What we talking about? What we talking about though? The rejection of those votes. The rejection of those votes is not just Trump, because he's just the ideal. It's being rejected by the majority of white people because they reject black people. Period.
No doubt.
Your value is not substantial. Go ahead. Let's close it out for the next commercial break.
So we're gonna conclude this segment and come right back at this quick commercial break with Tntn Politics, and give you more of this amazing, awesome substance, right? So everybody, it's some jewels getting dropped here, man. So you're paying attention, it's a good thing. If you're not, you might get left out, right? So stay tuned. Welcome to Tntn Politics, your political right to know, the show. But if I don't say it, it might not get said. And boy, you already see that. What we talking about right now, you can't hear this every day anywhere. So again, I'm hoping y'all tuning in and paying attention. And before you get your weekend started, start your weekend with some good information. Man, I'm good. I be just saying stuff, man. That's that poet in me, man. That's that.
Coming off the dome.
But off the, you know, But
come
come on, and
let's gonna close it out.
recap.
What I was just saying about the situation with them rejecting the votes is that we need to focus on the political rhetoric, the language that's being used, because the language being used now is real subtle. They don't come out directly and say certain things. They use certain illegitimate, it's fraud, it's rigged.
Yeah.
You know, he look at us like we rigged stuff, like, you know, we not to be trusted. It's a criminal element in our vote. You know, there's a lot of implications in them saying that about your vote, because that's the vote that he lost.
Yeah.
So we know that vote came from the majority of people of color and some whites, of course, but that vote came mostly out of Georgia, out of Arizona, mostly metropolitan areas where there's a strong degree of population of people of color. That was the votes that came in last, where he was saying stop the vote. So when they illegitimizing the vote, that's saying they don't look at you as legitimate and whole enough or American enough to be voted or counted. So we should be very upset with that. Nobody talks about that.
I agree.
And I want to veggie back on what you just said, and we can all agree, man, that if people would just pay attention to the Constitution, man, and in the laws that these people have written, that law is still in effect to this day, and they still see us as what is it, 3/4 or 1/5 and all that.
Mm-hmm.
It's still in the laws. It ain't changed. They ain't eradicated, erased it out the books and out there.
No, they just amended it.
They just amended it, put it to the side, but it's still, and also it's a concept. That's just like you can take down all the statues, all the flags, and change the schools from Robert E. Lee to Malcolm X, whatever the case may be, but it's still a mentality. White supremacy, racism is a mentality, because white folks feel that they are superior, and everybody else that's not white is less than. So, saying all that to say this is that this is what we're dealing with, and how are we going to deal with this for years to come, because it's just the tip of the pyramids, as I say. I don't say the iceberg.
Oh,
A lot of people
okay.
went from the icebergs.
Okay, tip of the
We come from no
pyramid.
caves and nothing like that. But you know,
Okay,
you know,
I'm still that.
saying all that to say
It's
this,
a
I
tip of
mean,
pyramid.
this is where we at as a people, and we gotta understand the people we dealing with. You know, we can't be, you know, I don't want to use no, you know, improper words, but we can't be dragging our feet and playing, you know, come save me. You know what I'm saying? We gotta do it ourselves, but that's where we at, man. The mentality.
Great point.
You can't change the spots off a lion or a tiger or a zebra.
Great
I
point.
mean,
Yeah, I
It's a
agree.
relationship, master and slave relationship.
exactly.
But at the end of the day, go back to what we all kind of saying in a roundabout way. We are our own saviors, but at the same time, we have to get past personalities and start understanding ideas, right?
Okay.
Understanding what actually carries a movement, understanding what gives longevity, and what allows for it to be prosperous in such a way that is not cut short, because they've been able to identify who the main carrier is,
Right.
and then get you know, and remove that from the equation.
Right.
So we start emphasizing the people again, understanding the ideas and the concepts. Don't worry about me, my charisma, right? Don't worry, get out of the personality.
Right.
Stop looking for the Messiah. We are collectively the Messiahs.
Messiah.
Listen to the idea and carry that, right? And that collective consciousness will carry us all the way to wherever we gotta go.
And what's crazy,
Right.
if you think about it, just what he just saying, Trump has mastered, again, the ideal. And that's why he's successful. That's why the movement is successful. That's why it's not so much of a post-Trump America, because the ideal that Trump represents, the white nationalism, the racial sentiment, is still there even after Trump is gone. Trump influence
He was able to ignite it.
So there's no such thing as a post-Trump era. Like there's no such
Oh,
thing
yeah,
as a post-Obama
it's gonna be
era.
us for a long
Because
time.
he done ignited something that has deep historical roots in
Always
the
been
minds
there.
of people.
Always been
And by doing that, and making that more
Polarized
acceptable,
and yeah,
and making
acceptable.
people more comfortable now to be who they are and their
Yeah.
racism,
Yeah.
and making them think that racism and patriotism is one and the same. That's another. So
That's a whole nother concept.
and that's what we're looking at. And he has ignited that in
Yeah.
people's minds. So he mastered the idea. He's not a personality. Well, he's not a president. He doesn't worry about his personality like his idea. He just happened to be talking.
Yeah.
But what he's representing is more important than what he's saying.
Hmm.
What he represents is more important than what he's saying.
Man, I just listen to that.
Yeah.
That's
The
what you gotta understand.
symbolicness of his leadership.
Yeah, that's what's important to them. Not how he lied and fact checking. Damn a fact check. Look at what he represents.
Yeah.
And it's all facts. Yeah, right. You ain't gotta just look at what he represent. You ain't gotta be he that's wrong. No, he's wrong. He's the ultimate fact because he stand on untruth and xenophobia, etc., etc.
So let me ask y'all both this one by one real quick. Just knowing what he's capable of, right? He making some solid moves, right? Firing the Secretary of Defense, right? All of this little stuff he doing, and putting these little puppets up there, these that really ill-equipped, right? Real inexperienced individuals he putting in these very sophisticated and complicated and vital and roles that's really kind of vital to the security of the nation, bro. What do y'all think he up to? What could he be up to in his last 90 days?
Let me say this, man. It really wouldn't surprise me, and it don't surprise me, and it wouldn't shock me that this man is leaving this country vulnerable.
Because he want Biden to fail, so when he run again in 4 years, he got a platform.
And it wouldn't surprise me, and I'm surprised that someone come in, I'm talking about a foreigner, come in and just basically do what they want to do because there's so much disarray.
And they loving it.
This country
is Russia and China, all them, they loving it.
Yeah, it's all in disarray. And I know other eyes is watching across the globe, and I know they see this man as like a cartoon character. You're not even real. You're just a person walking around talking about a bunch of mumbo jumbo, words that don't even make no sense. You don't even know what they mean. You just speak to hear yourself talk, but in no respect for this country, the people, the foundation or nothing. But at the same time, we gotta understand this is a caveman. Caveman think like caveman. And that's just the way it is. That's how I see it.
I wasn't expecting that one, man.
But,
I was like,
just explain it away. Like, look, man, what can you expect?
But to sum it up real quick,
right?
I don't expect him to do anything different.
Well, what he's doing right now that's dangerous is that he's preventing the Biden team from getting the
information, the daily briefs,
and kind of like what y'all both are saying, he's creating a situation where if Biden is not on his national security, he can discredit him. He's so concerned about trying to win, he's willing to let the country be national security and vulnerable.
Be open, and
he needs them national security briefings. And I think Biden just filed a lawsuit demanding that because if he come in office ill-equipped, then if something was to happen, that's the vulnerability we're talking about. But he's so concerned about winning, and these people that's following him are concerned about uplifting themselves out of whatever they're trying to represent, that you're willing to let the country go down to discredit this president. That's crazy. I mean, that showed the insanity of his thoughts. And I think by him firing these people, he know people are thinking that, and he's doing it to get reaction.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna do this. I know everybody gonna think I'm over here. That's reaction.
Because in the day, all he wants is for people to keep talking about him.
Yeah.
Right.
He want to be in the forefront.
Right. Exactly.
At everything.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Whether good or bad, he got to be the drum man. He got to be up front.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, he's still trying to mobilize his base. Yeah. Right. He's trying to still keep them fired up, so that when he announced he running again in 4 years,
he's gonna run again.
He got he got them 70 million already on his side, ready to go. And then all you gotta do is try to win over, these other few millions to
if he wins,
recapture.
The elections were perfect.
Right.
Oh yeah, no recount.
The best in history.
Yeah.
Because he won. So you're looking at a dictator by nature, basically.
The crazy part about it at the end of the day, though, is that in the early stages, a lot of Republicans was doing some what sounded just retarded as him. Getting on live TV, just saying some just ridiculous stuff as if they won, right? But now slowly but surely you see them all kind of sobering up and realizing that it's a wrap. And so you got a lot more, a lot of Republican run states now who basically saying like the recount stuff is ridiculous. Like they basically saying hell, and this is like when it's like the most secure election damn near in history. Yeah. It's like ain't nothing, ain't much slipped through. And even if you had 1 or 2 or 3, even 100 frauds, it ain't gonna undo the thousands that you lost by.
Right,
you know what I'm saying? It ain't that systematic, right? Exactly. It ain't that systemic. That 100,000 folks that slipped in here and gave us some fake shit.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
About millions.
Like, I mean, come on now. Yeah. So even if you found a couple of 100 of irregularities, the margins that Jordan beat him by in every state so far, there's not enough fraud to be able to undo the outcome.
He's setting the seeds. We got
So-
like about 15 minutes. I'm gonna let you have it. But what he's doing basically is creating the seeds of rebellion and dissent. Like some early Tea Party. If you look at early history, colonial America, when you delegitimize the government, you
And
create protest.
yeah, but
I
you-
think he's
but
creating
you
the
also-
seeds
but-
of
yeah.
discontent to where people are going to start questioning not only this election,
Every election,
but
after,
every
right?
election.
Right.
If somebody in
Mhm.
power didn't win, might question it to the point where they bag out the whole political system altogether or try to tear it down.
So basically, he questioned the legitimacy of our democracy. Period.
Right. That's
Like he
dangerous.
putting that in question. Like a big question mark around.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Let me say this before you say what you about to say. This country, man, is how can I say it? There's so much tension, which we all know, but it's on the verge of destruction, and it's going to be within this governmental system. It's going to create a earthquake or whatever the case may be, because there's too much racial tension in this country. A lot of things that's going on it's
It's only a matter of time.
it's just a matter of time that it's gonna come to a head, and people is frustrated. This COVID thing has got a lot of things messed up. So with Trump in the middle of all that, I mean, he not just the only equation, but with everything that's going on, this government in this country, it look real bad compared to what it's been, in years. But at the same time,
It's falling apart.
it's falling apart, and it's falling apart quick. So to me, it's inevitable. It's gonna happen. It needs to happen to me. If you ask me, if it shut down today, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna be, I think, better for us because
It forced us to do for ourselves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you hit the nail on the head.
Force us to get back to doing for ourselves.
we need
Our
that
survival-
push.
Our survival is
Because we need to depend on self. We've been depending on people who don't give,
Well, that
but,
part.
yeah. But in all that saying,
Great point.
this country is it's shifting right now, and the paradigm has to be shifted. Because where is that now? But
Oh yeah,
we're gonna-
2020 to shook it up though. This definitely has been the most unpredictable roller coaster ride of a 12 months.
It's been catastrophic.
Catastrophic can be used as a word.
Yeah.
Definitely, just the unrest and the I guess the word I'm looking for is more like unstable, right?
Yeah.
It's been an unraveling.
But I was gonna say unstable, but also revealing, right?
Yeah,
Unraveling.
revealing, yeah.
And everybody has to, and there's been a lot of stages this year where at some point or another you just have to sit down, sober up, and take an honest look at yourself and the reality of yourself and the world you're living in, right?
Mhm.
So there's been many of this,
Mm.
these what they call them, come to Jesus moments, these these epiphanies, right? Where it's just like, man, like this is what this is. What I'm saying, like, and so it's been definitely eye opening, right? Eye opening. 12 months with a few weeks to go, and 2020 looking a lot more hopeful with with so-called vaccines for COVID. Well, that's another whole topic too, of course.
Most definitely.
And then new reigns of power transitioning, and hopefully all the other things all the other benefits that might come with that reality. But like I said, at the end of the day, no matter who's in the White House, all that matters is what we do in our house. I'm saying, no matter who's sitting in the Oval Office, man, that's not gonna, in one way or the other, really impact what we can do to impact our own reality and our immediate surroundings, right, in the environment. And so we just got to make sure that we don't get so caught up in a political climate that we let that dictate how we move, or use it as an excuse for not moving, right? Because I don't care whether Trump would have won or Biden now. What I do, I'm gonna still be doing. Because I know what I need to do.
Exactly.
Right? And no one man has that much power to determine that outcome for me anyway.
Right.
I master my own destiny.
Yes, sir.
Right? And if we had that kind of collective consciousness, again.
We understand that the vote is a moment.
Yeah.
You will be the movement.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right,
You
so
want to wrap it
yeah,
up?
so we're gonna wrap that up, man. I want if y'all got any real quick last minute, man, y'all dropped some real jewels, man. I really appreciate you for coming through.
Thank you,
Appreciate
bro.
you for Mr. Myarifa.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate you for holding it down for me, Mr. Sometime co-host, sometime
Lead hoes out.
sometime lead host, sometime brother when you acting right. See, he ain't catch that.
You gave my whole heart. Out here.
Well,
I'm a part-time.
thank y'all for tuning in. We'll see y'all again on the next show, 6 p.m. every Friday. This is Tntn Politics. Again, I'm your host, Edward Davis, with my co-host, sometime co-host, Malik
Part-time,
Ingram,
brother.
with Myarifa, Ed Duncan. That was our show. Keep coming back, because again, if I don't say it, it might not get said.